Hi everyone, this is Grégoire from Greg's Whiskey Guide, your host for some whiskey reviews, some, when possible, in-depth informations about these whiskies. And at the moment I have started A to Z, or most probably A to T letters, about Scotch whiskies, and most often single malt whiskies. But like as I saw the month of March ending, I said, wow, I didn't do a specific Irish single malt or blend whiskey review, so I shall do one, and I had prepared this, and then I forgot, and we're already beginning of April, but this is not an April's Fool, so I decided to integrate into this Scottish single malt journey some world whiskies, and starting with this one, the BUSHMILLS 21 years old single malt, triple distilled and individually numbered, so a bit of a limited edition, if we can say. I don't know how far it is limited, but and yes, so and I want to dedicate this to two people. Leon Webb from the Shelter Point Distillery from Canada, Vancouver Island, British Columbia. Why? Because he did recently very brave review of this whiskey in the snow outside the distillery, so it was fun. So this is a shout out for him. First shout out. Second shout out, of course, it comes to Jim, aka the Whiskey Novice, with his nice YouTube channel, who was my guest for our Irish Whiskey Live stream, talking about Irish whiskies. First part we did was mostly about had to redo this 3 times. Yes, some sound issues. Yes, and we spoke mostly about historical distilleries and stuff, and we're gonna do another one for more recent distilleries when I will get some sample as well. I don't have samples from Dingle, Waterford, etc. Cullowen is the new one I didn't know, etc. So for now we're covering here the BUSHMILLS 21 years old. This is a triple distilled single malt, as often but not always about Irish whiskies. This is 19 years old whiskey, which has been matured in bourbon and Oloroso Sherry wood, and then they put it into Madeira casks for 2 more years, so it's a 21 years old. It is unfortunately chill filtered. It is probably colored as well, artificially colored with E150A, and it is bottled at 40%, as often for the BUSHMILLS whiskies. Not always, but often. BUSHMILLS, if you don't know much the brand, they have made a success with their blended whiskies. This, for instance, the triple distilled, which stayed Smooth Mellow, which is a blended whiskey. They also have this Black Bush, which is 80% malt and a lot of sherry cask in it. Black Bush, another blended whiskey. Beautiful, very nice to start with the Irish whiskey category. There is still also, you can still find this reference that was made in released in 2008. Beautiful whiskey. I'll probably do also a video about this one. And there is also 16 years old whiskey, which has been recently rebranded as a knowledge statement and called the three wood, because they're using different type of cask. I don't have it here in my collection. If I get it, I will review it for you. What else to say? From time to time they have store picks that can be absolutely sensational, like they did around 10 years ago for France, for La Maison du Whisky. cask strength, 16 years old, one bourbon, where the other was sherry. They have also sometimes beautiful travel retail expressions, such the old select cask Caribbean rum finish that I have, and this is a stunner included in my top 70 whiskies I tried so far. Very high praise and rate for this one. I have also an indie bottling, and there's some beautiful indie bottling. I advise you to track this and search for that. Sometimes bottles by the Nectar of the Daily Drams. This is a Belgian indie company. Or you have also some, I have a sample to cover, by the way, from the Irish whiskey for the Whisky Exchange, which is the equivalent in UK of the La Maison de Whisky. They often do very good picks. Also, I can advise you Blackadder and Cadenhead, which great indie bottlers that do from time to time Irish whiskies, but often top-notch ones, really. To go back to this one, this was an expression that was created for the 400th anniversary, stated by the distillery as the distillery anniversary, stating this distillery was at this time, 2008, 400 years old, but in fact this is not true exactly. Like some of you geeks know now, the BUSHMILLS distillery has been like thousands, there were even 2,000, I think, yeah, 2,000 smuggling illegal distilleries in Northern Ireland at this time. And did I say, because I have to redo it, did I say it was, yeah, from Northern Ireland in the Antrim County. Yeah, so the governor of the Ulster, Sir Thomas Phillips, in 1608 year granted a license to distill in the Antrim County to many of those, but they didn't get to ask for being legal and have a proper address, etc., before the 18th century for most of them. And the BUSHMILLS distillery that was called Old BUSHMILL Distilleries in the old days, in fact, did really open only in 1784. And at this time there were 1,228 other distilleries. Can you believe that? There's much less now, even if there's a boom. This has been owned several times by different owners, and I will go back to this about the creation of this whiskey. Pernod Ricard, Irish distillers before that, and after that Diageo had it until 2014, where he sold it strangely to a Southern American company, which is named Casa Cuervo, and which does mostly tequila. It's strange, but many of people might wonder the name. Why the name? Because there's a village named Bush, and around in this village and around there were a lot of mills. So there you go, Old BUSHMILLS, and there you have the name. So to go back to why I talked about Middleton, it's because I discovered during conversation in a Whiskey Live with Billy Layton that before he joined Middleton Group, who makes Jameson, Powers, Redbreast, etc., he did create this expression himself, which explains a lot of things. And this is a lovely whiskey. So yeah, current master blender of Middleton did create this concurrent single malt. Strange. What else I'm gonna say about it, because time is running out? I'm gonna nose it. tasting and give you my rating. Now on the color, even if it's artificially colored probably, you can still see some sorry, yeah, so there's some amber in there. Don't know what's going on with the camera. I hope I won't have to do it 4 times. I tasted only 2 times. I cut it before tasting. Be reassured, people. Yeah, the nose is what I like. Even if it's 40%, this is very expressive and very dense, very concentrated, thick. There's half viscosity. When I see the legs, they're going down quite quickly because of the low ABV, but still there is some that are hanging here because it's 21 years old. So yeah, we'll say medium viscosity on the look, on the nose. Beautiful complex bouquet. There's a lot of things going on. I have notes here to check out if I forgot something. Unlike, strangely, the first pour I had before, for the first try of the video in which I tried this, I get more vanilla than before. It's strange. So vanilla, then immediately after a lot of candied fruit, a lot of ripe fruit. Among them, there's blackberries. There are blackberries. Very seductive, beautiful note just right after, but still very integrated. So not shouting out like in Redbreast or other whiskies. This typical Irish blackcurrant bud note that I think is really characteristic of sherry maturation, most of anything else, and typical Irish. In French, blackcurrant bud is bourgeon de cassis, for those who wonder. Yeah, some honey, some licorice on the background. It's beautiful oak, mostly. It's complex. There's some tiny sandalwood note, rosewood maybe, but very tiny on the background. That's some beautiful candied fruit and dried fruit. With some apricot, for instance. Also some sultanas. Then I have a nice note that we can find in general. That's the exotic fruit note that we can find more enhanced and more emphasized in the bourbon matured ones. When you go to the indie bottling especially, and you have a full bourbon maturation with quite some age, 20 years or more, this becomes really fantastic. That comes on the front. So I don't get really pears or bananas, for instance, which comes from the esters, first fill bourbon cask. But I get more an unusual note between pineapple and kiwi for me. So a bit acidulous and a bit acidic. But even something that could be cooked on the pan a few minutes, so there's some kind of caramelization, some Demerara sugar with it. Maybe rum, but it's Madeira, so it's weird. So very complex note, and yeah, I forgot because it's more obvious on the palate, some black tea and even a bit of Earl Grey tea. I see what else here. Yeah, dark chocolate, yeah, as well. Okay, cheers, let's go on the palate. Wow. beautiful. Oh, that blackcurrant bud mixed with the licorice and the Demerara sugar and all these candied fruits. It's lovely. It's very, very complex. Believe me or not, even at 40%. Yeah, I would have liked to see it non-chill filter 43, 46, that's for sure. But even at 40, it still delivers a lot of things. More okay for the experienced drinker, he might enjoy it more. But yeah, we still can be frustrated about the ABV. I agree with many of you guys. But still, I think it's worth every euro. I'll speak of the price later on. Another one. Classy, elegant, very balanced. There's almost some silky texture in it. Only a hint of black pepper. And very subdued, very on the background. Not aggressive. The tea leaves comes now a bit more. Something also typical from Bushmills we forget with aged versions, I mean. So this black tea, a bit of green tea, a bit of even Earl Grey. There's other green elements, vegetal elements, such as the kind of a forest moss, I will say, maybe mushrooms. There's still some Demerara sugar, almost some coffee, maybe Irish coffee note, because it's still a bit thick, thick and silky, which sound contradictory. The tiny dark chocolate, again the licorice, raisins, apricots, not much really exotic fruit. Last one before I dilute it a bit. Yeah, also some natural caramel. Okay, I will dilute it, and some might be surprised why dilute it, because even at 40%, and the blenders who might watch know that perfectly. This is for you, Leon. Many master blenders, I had the occasion to meet some, see some documentaries, etc. When they have to assess 100 of samples, most of them they're not going to try. They're just going to try on the nose, not on the palate, I mean. If they have a doubt, they might try, and for the final batch, they're going to do it. But they used to lower the ABV to around 30% to be able to assess a lot of samples without the aggressivity of the alcohol coming up. But when you have to assess an old whiskey, you got to be careful if it's something too much sherried, too much old, 40 years old and stuff. You got to be very careful with the water you're going to add. So I just added a few drops, not more. But you know, it's interesting to know how it reacts if the balance is kept. So for me, sorry, I like to do so. Sorry. Oh yeah, the coffee is coming in now. Coffee with Demerara sugar, or shall I say unrefined, non-raffiné, unraffinated sugar from the islands. So sugar cane, yeah. And these exotic fruits are still in the background, but maybe some roasted pineapple. No. Apricot, not really. Less than on. Slightly sour note from the sherry. Yeah. Some beautiful, sorry, almost quince, lemon sherbet, peach maybe also, That for me comes both from the sherry maturation and from the Madeira. Often with, and I'm gonna do a special video about Madeira. Often when Madeira wood is well used and well integrated, it adds a plus in terms of fruitiness and floral notes as well. So I really like often the Madeira finishes. Okay, the blackcurrant bud is still there, very well integrated. It's a very complex whiskey. Very complex, covering a lot of different families of flavors. So is it worth 150 euros even if I got it for almost half by chance, by different canals? Yes, I think it is. 200 and more, no. So if you can have it for less, if you're not if you're a bit experimented, if you're used to blended whiskies, it is not a blended whiskey, but it comes a bit in this category of very refined, very sophisticated, low ABV single malt. So it comes a bit in this category of whiskey lovers for me, which can enjoy maybe more than the others this expression. But yeah, there's a beautifully crafted whiskey, and congrats Billy, and honestly it deserves for me a 92 out of 100. That's it, that's my rating, believe it or not. So thanks for watching. I see we're going over 20 minutes, sorry about that. Hope you liked the video. Tell me what you think about it if you have tasted it, and next one will be Scottish, so stay tuned. Bye.